This episode of the Lawyers Hip Hop Happy Hour is sponsored by the law offices of Alfred Guillaume III, a boutique criminal defense firm located in Washington, D.C. The firm specializes in defending federal criminal cases. You can learn more about the firm by visiting our website at guillaumelaw.com. That's GUILLAUME law.com. Welcome to the Lawyers Hip Hop Happy Hour. This month, I had the pleasure of hosting Louisiana State Senator Royce Duplessis. He represents the state's 5th Senate District, which is primarily located in the great city of New Orleans, Louisiana. In this second segment of my interview, he and I discussed his love for all things hip-hop. He's a New Orleans native, so you already know his musical acumen is on point. We talked about hip-hop old and new, from Larry June to Slick Rick, but my favorite part of the conversation by far was us talking about the music that laid the foundation for our beloved hip-hop. Wait until you find out some of the records he pulled from the crates, especially the artist that was in heavy rotation in his childhood home. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. And as we say in New Orleans, Laissez le bon temps rouler. Welcome back to the Lawyers Hip Hop Happy Hour. I'm here with my brother from another, Mr. Royce Duplessis, attorney at law, state senator of District 5 from New Orleans, Louisiana, in D.C., one time only, special guest. Thank you, brother, for sticking around to talk music with me.
Oh, look, I've been looking forward to this, so thank you for having me.
And man, you know, before I even let you get going, I just want to tell all our viewers out there, for those people who are going to be watching it on YouTube, for those folks who are going to be listening, if you can't see the table that's necessarily in front of me, if you watch the video, you'll be able to see the records as I pull them out. This name of this episode, I'm telling you right now, Deep Cuts. This guy went so deep in that crate, man. I mean, pulled out. I had to edit him because it was like all this stuff. I was like, whoa, man, nobody's going to know what this means or this is. I mean, I am so happy when I can talk music with a fellow music head, not a hip hop head, but a music head. And that's you all, my brother. So I want to start off kind of where we started when you dig into the crates. You picked an album that I did not expect at all, which is Barry White's Love Unlimited Orchestra Rhapsody in White album. This album was released in 1973, maybe it was 74.
74.
And it is a great album cover. Barry White is a cool brother from the 70s, if those who don't know, in the 80s as well. And I'm going to let you take a look at this record, man. And I would like you to tell me your Barry White story that you were talking about.
Sure. So
off camera.
So I chose this album not because I grew up on it. Obviously, it was 1974. I was not born. But anytime I think about Barry White and I hear his music, I think about when I first learned of Barry White, which was actually in the 90s.
Wow, the 90s.
When he released probably his last big single, which was Telling Me This, Telling Me That.
Telling me?
So I was with my dad. I don't even think I was a teenager at that time. And it was in rotation on the radio, and I remember my dad talking to somebody about go and get the new Barry White album. And in my mind, I thought Barry White was like this new artist.
Right.
But I didn't realize my dad and his friends been listening to Barry White.
From years.
So they grew up on Barry White in a lot of ways. So
he was their contemporary.
Correct. So I was always intrigued by him, not just by his voice, but when I learned that he was a musical genius.
Yeah,
and
he was a
composer.
Composer. Right. He doesn't sing on this album.
Look at the image on the background, not just the cool image on the front, but he was an actual composer.
He was a composer. He wrote music.
Right. So from that point, I just began to be intrigued by him, and he has so many classic hits.
For me, it's Secret Garden.
Secret Garden. You have that one. That's one that's very much a classic. But for me, my favorite Barry White song of all times is it's gonna take a lifetime. It's gonna take years and years. I've got so much love to give.
Oh yeah,
and that's my favorite.
Well, all right.
Yeah, that's my favorite Barry White song. He has endless hits, but I'm just a big fan of his coolness. You know, the way not just that he sounded, but the way he looked.
The way he looked.
I love the way he looked.
This is a cool brother.
I mean,
right
this
here.
brother was just like so cool.
So cool, man.
So smooth.
Always was cool with the ladies. The ladies love him.
Yeah.
He had his hair perm back in the day. I
mean,
don't agree with that, but it's all
white.
right.
Yeah, but Barry White, just
he was a cool brother.
Just a real cool brother. Made incredible music. And had to show love to Barry White.
He was, and you know what? And it's people say this is a Lawyers Hip Hop Happy Hour. You guys talking about Barry White? Well, Barry White was sampled by a lot of hip hop artists.
That's
As
right.
we know from listening to the behind the scenes episodes on this podcast, we always talk about the music that was sampled and is sampled in hip hop even presently. And this, speaking of sampling Barry White, we can transition to this next album, which is Mary J. Blige's 1994. Classic. My Life. This is me all day. High school. This is my wheelhouse. I love it. But worse, I'm a little bit older than you, so I know you weren't in high school when this album was released.
Right.
But tell me why you chose this album.
Yeah, so I chose this album because I have 3 brothers, 2 older brothers, 1 younger brother. But my oldest brother, he was 11 years older than me.
Wow.
And he would always bring his music home. This was, I think we had transitioned from tapes to CDs, or we were kind of still in that phase of moving.
I remember that
into
phase.
getting CDs.
Tapes were so awful.
So I think it was the worst. It was the worst. You had to use the little pencil.
They would
get all messed up.
Oh man.
I'm pretty sure it was a CD he brought home, and something struck me about this image because looking at it, it's real hip hop. The image is kind of hardcore. It's in your face. It's hard, right?
Right.
But it's an R&B album.
It's an R&B album. The queen of hip hop and R&B is Mary J. Blige.
She was that bridge between this was like that era of East Coast hip hop, but she was able to make that jump from that culture of hip hop into R&B.
Right.
And
she's from Yonkers, New York.
Yes.
She's very much influenced by hip hop, but she's not hip hop necessarily.
She's not. She's the queen of hip hop, R&B, or just queen of R&B. And I mean, endless hits on this. My favorite is My Life, but this album just represents so much for the culture. It represents so much for music. It represents so much for women, Black women. It's just a powerful album.
It's a powerful album for a powerful woman.
Yeah.
Many people think it's her first album. It's her second. It's not. Yep. What's the 411 was her first album.
Right.
My wife loves that album. What's the 411? I prefer this one, but I love What's the 411.
Yep.
And our co-creator, shout out to Benjamin Simmons at Breathe Video, he loves What's the 411 too.
Yeah.
The song with Grand Pooh, but we were talking about that off camera. My favorite song on this album, on the My Life album, is probably I Love You, and the Smith and Wesson remix of I Love You. Just a great song. I love Be Happy. It's another amazing song. This record had this album, it has some great samples. There's some Barry White samples on here. There's a couple of Curtis Mayfield samples on here. You Bring Me Joy sampled the Barry White song. This defines an era. It's the beginning of an era.
It does.
And it just really defines it. And it was, I grew up in that era. This is my era. It is amazing. Royce, you was a little bit behind, but you still your era too, my brother.
Yep.
I mean, this is an amazing album. And you know what? And while we're in the old school mood, we're going to keep it back. Well, actually, we only have one new album on the table. So we got to keep it old school because that's how we roll here at Lawyers Hip Hop Happy Hour.
Right.
Another just great album, and I'm gonna assume your older brother influenced you on this album as well.
Oh yeah.
The Great Adventures of Slick Rick, one of my all-time favorite hip hop albums. I believe this album came out in '87 or '89. I don't quite remember.
I'm
gonna maybe it's even '88. Go ahead, Royce, you got it. Hey Young World, I love that. I remember that video used to come on. I don't even know what's my favorite. Of course, Children's Story is the most famous song from this album. But what's your favorite song from the album? What do you remember
I think
about
my favorite would be A Teenage Love. So
Teenage Love.
So growing up, I got introduced to Slick Rick through a children's story.
Children's Story, right.
So that is how I got introduced to Slick Rick. But then years later, I learned about A Teenage Love.
Man.
What was some others? Hey Young World.
Hey Young World. That was my joint. That video for that.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember the video for that. It was like a slow motion video.
Yeah.
And they were dancing. Hey Young World.
Yeah.
World.
I mean, outside of the chains that Slick Rick wore, you know, he was just always unique because, you know, he was British.
He was British, right?
And he just had an incredible
he repped
story.
Brooklyn or the Bronx. I don't know. Shout out to Dave Clooney, who would probably tell me. But yeah, Brooklyn or the Bronx is. I can't.
Yeah,
I don't know
but I think A Teenage Love is probably my favorite on this album, and he was just always eclectic and lively, and just brought an energy to rap and to music that I could identify with.
You know, and it's a shame that his career kind of got sidetracked because he went to prison.
Right.
And there was an unfortunate incident. I think had he stayed in the game consistently, he would have been more of a powerful force. But this is still one of the all-time great albums,
absolutely,
in all of hip hop history.
Truly.
And you know, it's funny, man. I just this album. I was young. I mean, I was not quite a teenager when this album was released. I was preteen, as they say. I mean, look, Mona Lisa. It's another great song. Mona Lisa.
Yep.
I mean, this is banger after banger on here.
Yep.
And this album is. I didn't have the vinyl album. I have it now because I bought it, purchased it in the 50th. When the 50th year of hip hop, you know, they really re-released all these different albums, these classics. I had the tape. I don't even think I had the CD. I had the tape of this album.
Wow.
It just brings back so many great memories from childhood.
Yep.
And he was so different, like you say, man, in any other artist. And then, you know, I used to DJ, and I remember. It's funny that you mentioned A Teenage Love. And of course, you know LL Cool J song, I Need Love. Mm-hmm. So it's a similar, like a slow type of song.
Exactly.
I used to mix those two songs together.
Really?
Like A Teenage Love and that. Boom, boom, boom,
wow. That's strong.
From that LL Cool J, you know? So
yeah, I mean,
same era.
He was a great storyteller, one of the greatest storytellers of hip hop.
Some would say he's the greatest storyteller. You know, I love Nas.
Right.
And shout out to my friend Jeremy Duru, who I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Jeremy might have said Slick Rick was the greatest, if not Nas. It's one of the other. But I know he and I, when he was on the podcast some time ago, talked about some of the greatest storytellers. And Slick Rick, you know, he had such a effortless way of speaking. I've seen him live in concert. And I tell this story all the time, how when I saw him and Rakim in the same show, two of the all-time greatest. And Rakim gets credit from a lot of folks for being the greatest. Mm-hmm. But I mean, Slick Rick just got up there. He didn't move, really. He just stood there going side to side. And the words, I mean, it's hard to have that much breath,
right,
to talk and to have people understand every word you say.
Yeah.
He did it like, I was amazed.
Wow.
You know, I was blessed to have seen him live at the Howard Theater in D.C. some years ago. And he put on quite a show. And I think all those guys from that era, man, they were showmen. They really knew how to put on a show.
That's right.
In their own unique way.
That's right. True artist, true showman.
True showman, man. You know, so since we kept it in the East on this one album, let's go to the West Coast, man.
Yeah.
You were the first guest to have chosen a lot of these albums. But this one is, I think, a very underrated album in hip hop.
Yes, very much so.
Warren G's first album, the G-Funk era. Man, this was another college. I think this came out in 96, if I'm not mistaken, or somewhere around there. It was just a totally underrated album. I mean, I think, you know, Warren G doesn't get enough credit. I mean, Snoop and Dre, they take a lot of the air out of the room, and rightly so in the West Coast conversation, even NWA before that. But Warren G had his own unique cadence and flow that was just really, really, really awesome. I'm going to give this to you. Many people know the most famous song from that album, but I'd like to hear what your
people know Regulator, but that is certainly not my favorite song. I mean, it was popular, rightfully so, him and Nate Dogg and that G-Funk sound, but my favorite song is This DJ.
Oh, that's mine too.
Yeah. This DJ is definitely.
I love that beat.
Yeah, and I had a lot of others on here that I liked and appreciated, but man, you gave a great description of Warren G. He was kind of in the background,
right,
of that whole Snoop and Dre era, but we were talking about Currency early and how he just
kind of from New Orleans.
Currency didn't try to be anything. He was intentional about saying, I'm going to be me. I'm not going to try to be this big superstar celebrity. I just want to make good music. I'm going to just make my music. And I feel like Warren G was similar in many ways, and saying he didn't try to be the big mega star,
right?
Even though he was with the mega stars, he just wanted to make music that connected with that era. And I think he made some timeless music with that album.
Right, he did. And I've been, some of my not guests, but some of the folks who've commented about the podcast and all the fans who I really want to shout out and appreciate. They tend to tell me that I'm a little East Coast biased, and I'm not going to deny that necessarily. But actually in this episode, now that I look at the table, and we're going to go to the next album in a minute, I realize the majority of the hip hop albums do not come from New York. So this is the first, or even the South, right?
Right.
And I edited you heavily, but
you did, yeah. But that's all right.
That's all right, because we can still talk about some of those albums anyway. It doesn't matter, because I'm going to bring something up in a little bit that it's not on the table. You chose, the Souls of Mischief, which this is for the real hip hop heads right here, straight out the Bay, Northern California. Souls of Mischief, who I call the West Coast version of Tribe Called Quest. This album, this single, to me, 9-3 Till Infinity, one of my favorite songs of all time.
Yeah. I mean, look, 93 to Infinity, when this song comes on, like there are songs
that beat, man,
that just take you to a place.
Oh my goodness.
There are songs that will forever be etched in hip hop history.
Right.
And the song, when they made 93 Till Infinity, I don't care where you're from. Yes, I mean they're from Northern California, but everybody identifies with that song.
Everybody.
I don't know any sane, normal person who considers himself hip hop who would hear this song and not just go all in. I mean, this is just a song you don't skip, you let it play. It's just classic. It is a true timeless classic.
If they had never done anything else,
that song they were etched into hip hop. They are etched into hip hop history forever.
They are, man. And I lived in Northern California for a time.
Wow.
When I was in law school, I summered out there. And let me just say that the fan base, the fandom is real. I mean, it's such a unique, I guess I use the word niche, but it's really just an appreciation for true artistry.
Right.
Like, I was exposed to a lot out there. I don't know if you know about the artist Guapale, who's not a hip hop artist, but she's a poor man Sade, I guess is how I describe her. No disrespect to either Sade or Guapale. But I mean, that's kind of like the vibe that she's laying down, man. And it's such a rich musical scene in the Bay Area in California.
Definitely.
Obviously from Too Short, and I never was a big E40 fan, but I can appreciate his art and his influence and his impact.
No question.
Souls of Mischief, though, they were right up my alley. Though.
And that's the thing. I was actually, as you were talking about the Bay, I was thinking about E40 because I am a big E40 fan, and they're, to me, musically a big contrast to E40, like his style of music.
Yes, a huge contrast.
Right,
he's more like of a Southern style.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, he just has his own lane that they created.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's literally his own lane.
You know, that hyphy and everything that they do out there in the Yay, but these guys, you could hear this and not know where they're from.
You won't know where they're from, exactly.
You don't know where they're from.
You don't know where they're from. They could be from New York City.
Yeah, I mean, they could have been from...
They could be from...
Michigan. Anywhere. Seattle, anywhere.
You don't know.
Yeah.
And
so that's what makes their song so iconic. It's really like a global hip-hop song.
Right. And it's funny. No, we are obviously both from New Orleans, and we talk about the Bay. I remember that Master P, No Limit Records, got his start in the Bay. That's where he started.
That's right.
Right, Richmond, California, which is in the Bay.
Yep.
Ice Cream Man, and he had a lot of love.
Yep.
In the Bay Area. So shout out to the Bay Area. We don't get enough.
They don't get enough credit.
They don't get enough credit in hip hop.
In fact, I think that's where. Even though Frankie Beverly was from Philadelphia, they started. In San Francisco.
That's where Frankie Beverly started. Frankie Beverly and Maze. And and I'm glad you brought that up, because this episode will come out, be released sometime after the passing of the great legend Frankie Beverly, who we learned today passed away yesterday, September the 10th, 2024. And just black people in general, right? When you hear Before I Let Go, when you hear that song, that's like a black national anthem, one of our many black national anthems, but that's right up there with We Shall Overcome, in my opinion. It's the tune that makes you feel good every time you listen to it.
Right.
And being from New Orleans, we have the distinction, as you know, of being, I believe, the biggest fan and most loyal fan base for Frankie Beverly and
Oh,
Maze.
no question. Look, I grew up thinking he was from New Orleans.
I did too.
I thought he was from New Orleans.
I did too.
I was like, what you mean he's not from New Orleans? What? Yeah.
Do you know where he's really from though? He's not from the Bay.
He's from Philadelphia.
Yeah, he's from Philly.
Yeah.
I found that out later in life.
I was like, wait a second. Time out.
Right, but he wasn't part of that Philly sound,
No.
that Teddy Pendergrass. That's
Right.
why he went out to the West.
Right.
Howard Melvin and the Blue Notes, all those folks, that Billy Paul, he went to the Bay because he did not have that signature Philly sound at that time.
Right.
And that was probably the best decision he ever made for his career.
No doubt about it.
And Frankie Beverly passed just yesterday.
Legendary.
Just a true legend. Right behind you, if you see folks that are looking on the video will see that behind you, I pulled out in his honor one of my favorite albums of all time, which is the Live in New Orleans, 1984 at the Sanger Theater.
Yep.
I was a little boy.
Classic.
Frankie Beverly and Maze show. I tell you, I mean, there's so many Frankie Beverly songs that I love. I think you were singing one earlier. You want to say what your favorite is, or one of your favorites?
Mine is We Are One.
We Are One. It's
We
a
Are
great
One.
song.
Yeah, it's my. I mean, and it's hard to pick a
It's
favorite,
so hard.
right? But if I had to, I would have to go with We Are One.
I'm gonna go with You. Which
Okay.
Is, the first. If you listen to this, if you have the pleasure and honor and distinction of listening to this album, for those who have never listened to the album, the live version that I've been talking about, that's the first song on the album is You, and it is awesome. There's no other way for me to say it. And the thing about Frankie, I've been to a Frankie Beverly concert a few times, and not many artists can sound like they do on the record, and he was one of them.
Wow.
He sounded exactly like the record.
Wow.
I was like, wow, this is crazy. And he wasn't lip syncing or anything. Like it was him.
Yeah.
Luther Vandross has that other artist I always talk about that just had one of those voices where, he didn't need any help from in the studio.
Right.
So I pulled that album out.
Respect, tribute to
Frankie Beverly, who
Thank
is
you.
an amazing artist. And while we're in that genre, we might as well go. This is probably the most non-hip hop album version of the interview that we've ever done. But I edited your hip hop because you chose so many great albums. You chose another person who has a huge following where we're from, and it's in Black America in general. That is the Queen, Anita Baker. You chose what I consider one of the best albums in R&B history, which is Rapture. Can you tell me what your favorite song and what does this artist mean to you? What is this? What's the song mean? I mean,
Yeah, look, Anita Baker, similar to Frankie Beverly in a lot of ways, grew up on. I think she is part of the soundtrack of Black America, Black culture,
right?
That we grew up on,
And
right? I mean,
we were
this was
children.
just music you had in the background while your mom's cleaning the house, or you're riding to school. My favorite Anita Baker song by far is "Sweet Love."
Ooh,
right?
It's a great song on that album.
Yeah, but just her voice.
If
I just hear her voice on any song,
what a voice!
We were fortunate to be able to see her live in concert.
I've never seen her in concert,
New Orleans.
man.
She went on tour, and that was pretty special. But Anita Baker, iconic music artist, iconic voice, and again, just she's part of that soundtrack to the culture.
Right, she really is.
Yeah,
You know,
just soothes your soul. When I'm stressed, and I just need something that, like, she is my go-to. When I have to put some music on that will just take me out of a place and put me in a better place, Anita Baker is my go-to.
Yeah, well said. My favorite Anita Baker song, it's probably down to two. I can get. I mean, it's so many.
Yeah,
Rapture, which is on obviously the title track from this album, and I don't know. I said two, but I mean, I love
Caught
you.
up in the rapture of
love. I love You Bring Me Joy.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna it's top three, and I'm gonna say Angel as well.
Classic. Oh my God.
Yeah, Angel
that's definitely in the top three for me. But
there you go.
Sweet Love is mine, but everyone that you just named are probably in the top five.
And it's crazy. Like, we're like, you wouldn't think that people like us of our demographic would be like Anita Baker. Two black males in their 40s would love Anita Baker because she's a little bit before our time,
Right?
And we're men, right?
Right.
But look, man, Nita Baker has soul.
She got it.
And I just
soothing soul.
Right. If you're from New Orleans, you're a soulful person. I don't
Soothing
care.
soul. That's right. I mean, just it's in us.
It's in us. So the fact that you chose Anita Baker, I said, man, you must be from New Orleans. Like, what is going on? Because nobody's choosing that album.
Yeah.
That's why this episode is called Deep Cuts.
Oh yeah.
And, you know, obviously you must have a strong mama. And you're like, well, look, so how many men in the house growing up? Five. Five men?
Oh, she was strong.
Clearly she's a strong woman.
Strong. Yeah.
So, you know, your musical choices reflect your mama, whether you know it or not.
Right.
And so it's bringing me to the last artist, not of the show, but of the woman artist that you chose, which is Minnie Riperton.
Yep.
And you chose the album Minnie. Now this, I must confess, I'm a Minnie fan. She has a great voice, but Minnie I'm not as familiar with, even though I own this album and I love these a lot of songs on this album, as I am with Anita Baker. But the fact that you chose Minnie, I was like, whoa, you had a choice.
Yeah.
You could have skipped over this album.
Yeah.
You chose Minnie. Tell me why you chose Minnie Riperton. She has a Tribe Called Quest sample.
Yeah.
I will play that on the behind the scenes. Remind me of that. Whoever needs to remind me of that. It's a great sample. We're going to play it for Minnie Riperton.
Yeah. I just always found Minnie Riperton to be a very intriguing person, lived an intriguing life. And the song Back Down Memory Lane.
Oh, man.
I mean, when that song comes on, it's like everything pauses around me. When Memory Lane comes on,
that is an amazing song.
It is, and I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna make you. If you really want to dig deep into the crates, I don't know how big of a fan of Ice Cube you are.
I am.
There was an album that Cube did probably 2005, 2006. He did a hip hop like version of Memory Lane.
I'm not familiar with that song.
But
okay.
a lot of people can't do
it.
A lot of people can't do it and still pay homage and tribute to the song. He did a real good one.
He didn't just sample the song. He actually was a cover, like
exactly. It wasn't just a sample, but it was like a cover. But he did his version. Great job that he did. But Memory Lane by Minnie Riperton, one of the greatest songs of all times. And when that song comes on, for me, everything else pauses.
Right, that is a great song.
It is just so good.
It just brings me back to my childhood.
Yeah.
And I just, man.
Yeah.
That was an awesome song. I'm speechless. That was
so when I saw her, I was like, oh, I got to roll with Minnie on this one. Just her voice is just so angelic.
It is angelic, and her range was amazing.
Yeah.
But and again, my Minnie catalog is a little bit limited.
Yeah.
It's not like Anita, but you chose it, man.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, this guy is...
And another reason why is because she is emblematic of what music can do.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It can transcend everything. And when I think of that song as an example, when I think of Anita Baker songs, or
Back Down Memory Lane.
93 Till Infinity, or some of these songs that
you chose some really...
they transcend time and they bring you to a place emotionally that is powerful. And something, it's just something about Minnie Riperton for me. When I hear that song or when I hear her voice, it just brings me to a different place.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Because when you think about it, the songs that you chose, you're exactly right.
Yeah.
They just transport you to a time and place.
Yeah.
Especially the Barry White, especially Anita Baker, especially the Minnie, but also the Slick Rick, 93 to Infinity, and the Mary as well, and even the Warren G. Like,
that's right.
These are all like, I have this very definite memories surrounding those artists and songs.
Absolutely.
But we're not just old men.
No, we're not. We are not.
We're not old men. We still cool.
That's right. We still fly.
In spite of what my wife says, I'm still cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
That brings me to another artist you chose, who is one of my favorite newer artists. And shout out to my main man, Ryan Walton, who is a real he keeps me cool, man. Ryan, shout out, brother. He's an attorney as well. You need to come on the show. You messing around, man. Get on the show. All right. But he loves this guy, Larry June. And I love The Alchemist, who's a great producer, makes great beats. This album, first of all, I love this. It's like a Speed Racer, tribute to Speed Racer for those who grew up in my era and before know that cartoon. His album, The Great Escape, which is an album that was released a few years back, is a really cool album. And I'm not a big fan of some of the work that has come out today in hip hop. I try not to be that old guy from the golden era, but Larry June does not disappoint. And I was surprised that you chose him.
Yeah.
Actually. So what do you like about Larry June, this album? And
Yeah,
songs?
so I think I picked the album more for the artist. So I've listened to a lot of Larry June's music. When he came to New Orleans, I went to the concert at the House of Blues.
You're a fan.
I'm a real fan.
Right.
I'm a real fan. Like at the end of the year, when Spotify gives you, whatever you listen to the most. Yeah, I have Spotify and Apple Music. I kind of go back and forth, but I'm mostly on Spotify.
I like Tidal.
At the end of the year, Larry June was number 1. Right.
Wow.
So it was interesting how I came across Larry June. So I grew up really into music. Good friend of mine, Jamal. Jamal Simmons, we used to spend a lot of time together sharing music, talking about music. And I follow him on social media, and he would.
Who, Larry June?
No, I follow Jamal, my friend.
Jamal, okay.
And he was promoting this guy, Larry June, sharing some of his music. I was like, I didn't know who he was.
Right.
So I started.
He's from California, right?
He's from San Francisco.
Right, the Bay.
So I started checking him out, going back to the Bay.
Here we are.
I mean, here we
are,
full circle. We started. We were with Souls of Mischief. Now we back on Larry June. So I go to check him out, and he's in his own lane, because this guy is rapping about smoothies and being healthy,
right? Yeah,
going
401ks,
going hiking and going for bike rides, and I mean he's just in a different lane, but at the same time, doing this thing with the cars and the jewelry and being fly and healthy, right? It's like a different way.
Yeah,
he's not in all of the rapping about the pills and the sipping syrup.
I want to hear that.
All of that stuff. No, this dude is like, he's rapping and making good music, but talking about being healthy, drinking water, being hydrated. I mean, but he does it in a way where it's not corny. He does it in a way where it's fly, and it's like, I could listen to this all day. So I'm a big fan of Larry June. I love what he's doing. I love the way he promotes entrepreneurship. I love the way he promotes business and creativity, and just being your best self, being your boss, and not just from a musical standpoint, but from a physical standpoint. And I really like that. He has this thing called, he has his sayings. Everybody has their ad libs. He'll say, "Good job, Larry." Or he'll say, organic, right? He has this thing, and he has a whole following where he's selling oranges out his car and selling fruit and smoothies. And it's real
Larry
clever.
June fan, my friend.
I am a Larry June fan. Let it be clear.
Let's be clear.
Let the
about
record
one
be
thing.
clear. I am with Larry June,
and I can't begrudge you, man. I remember I can't remember if it's on Turkish Cotton or another song where he says, "Start a corporation and bet on yourself."
Bet on yourself.
I mean,
yeah.
As an entrepreneur myself, I heard that line. I was like, "Woo!"
Yeah,
there we go.
Yeah. So he makes good motivation music. I think that can speak to a younger generation, and maybe even an older generation, but a younger generation in a positive way.
Exactly.
Yeah, in a positive way.
And this album is so great for me because The Alchemist just comes with it. I'm a huge fan of The Alchemist and his beats. One of my favorite Alchemist tracks is with Nas and Mobb Deep, which is called TikTok. From Alchemist. I can't remember the album. I think the album came out in it's mid 2000s. I'm slipping a little bit, but
it's all right.
Yeah, TikTok is the song, and it's Nas's verse is a great verse, but Nas is
well, if it was Nas, of course,
it was great verse.
Yeah. It's the GOAT.
He's the GOAT, dude. No, since we're talking, since you mentioned that, let's. I haven't done this in a while, but who is your top? Who you got in your top 5?
Wow. So we going hip hop.
Hip hop, yeah, hip hop only.
Top 5, I'd have to say
in no particular order.
Yeah, thank you. I'm gonna definitely have to not be able to do any particular order, but I'd have to throw in Nas, Hove, Pac, Wayne, and Big.
All right.
Yeah, so I'm kind of traditional with my top 5.
You're traditional,
yeah,
but
and I have a lot of reasons as to why, but yeah, those are my top 5.
You know what? I'm gonna mention Wayne.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I think Wayne, Little Wayne, for those who don't know, and I know everybody does know, obviously we love Wayne. We're from New Orleans. He's from New Orleans. He represents our city well. There was a period in time when Wayne was at the top of the hip hop world and was untouchable, and was in the conversation for greatest ever, in the mid to late 2000s particularly. And he still is in most people's top 5 or top 10 artists of all time. But, this episode will be probably released either right before or right after the Super Bowl, which is coming to New Orleans in 2025. And, we have hosted the Super Bowl many times. But, in recent years, there has not been a lot of hip hop artists.
Right.
We just recently learned that Kendrick Lamar will be headlining. Kendrick Lamar, who is one of my all-time favorite rappers.
Same. Huge fan of Kendrick.
Huge fan. He holds down this generation well. It's in good hands with him. But he's not from New Orleans. He's from Los Angeles. And Lil Wayne, who is royalty in our city, is not, at least at this juncture, headlining the show. I know you don't have any inside information and you're in politics, but you're not involved with that. Right. So I don't want to put you on the spot. But as a hip hop fan and somebody who has Wayne in their top 5 artists, how do you feel about that?
Great question. Let me start just by acknowledging and congratulating Kendrick on being selected as the headliner. I think that's the first thing. I think we have to first recognize how far we've come. Right. To just 5 years ago, we were not getting these type of acts headlining Super Bowl.
Right. I mean,
we might have gotten a feature,
right? But
to be a headliner at a Super Bowl, I don't care what the city is.
Right. Los Angeles had Dre and Snoop. That was an amazing show.
Right. So I think something happened when we saw that happen 2 years ago, where we saw in L.A. they had Dre, Snoop, and the West Coast performances. I don't necessarily think that because a Super Bowl is in a city that means that the local artist is supposed to be featured. I think that the organizations, the NFL, whoever makes those decisions have to factor in a lot. Now, would I have loved to see Wayne headline? Absolutely. Do I think you said he's New Orleans royalty. I think he's hip hop royalty.
He is hip hop royalty, right.
One of the greatest to ever do it. And I think Wayne is in the conversation. Wayne is well into the conversation of being one of the greatest of all time, if Absolutely. Not just for his music, just his impact on the culture and his influence, right? I don't think we've seen anybody with the level of influence that he has had in terms of other artists wanting to emulate him and right. The impact he's had on the culture. You can't even measure it, okay?
No, you can't, right. Because all the Atlanta guys came out after Wayne, tried to be Wayne.
Everybody, all right? They still trying to be Wayne. But I don't know, from a business decision or whatever factors go into deciding who's going to headline a Super Bowl, that I don't know what factors go into making that decision, right? So I'm going to choose to give Wayne his props, right? And hope that maybe there's some kind of way that they can work him in, right? In a positive way, in a way where everybody wins, if you will. All of the theories and all of the ideas or
conspiracy theories.
Conspiracy theories that people might have out there as to why Wayne wasn't chosen. I can't get into that. I'm not in those rooms. But what I do know is that we have a black man, a proud black man, who is unapologetically black, Kendrick Lamar, who's holding it down for this generation in rap, who is a once-in-a-generational rapper, headlining the Super Bowl. We got to celebrate that no matter where the city is. And I believe Kendrick's going to pay his respect and homage to the city of New Orleans. We still have a long way to go. The Super Bowl season is just getting kicked off. I mean, the football season.
Right.
So we still have several months. Do I think it's a slight to Wayne? I think one could say that, certainly. But I don't necessarily think the story is over. Like,
I agree with you.
Let's not lose sight of where we are. I mean, he could have picked Taylor Swift, or they could, So it's like let's not lose sight of the fact that this is a win. This is a win for the culture, right? So somebody had to get chosen, and I don't think we should get in this business of. I don't think we should be in the business worthy. Of when we don't get chosen. We get upset. Now look, I haven't even heard Wayne make a comment. Everybody's commenting except Wayne. So he may not even be tripping. Right. He may not even be upset. So why would I be upset for Lil Wayne not being chosen if he hasn't openly said yet that he's upset? Now he might be upset. I don't know. My point is that I still think it's a win for the culture, and it's going to move us forward. And him not being selected to be a headline at this year's Super Bowl does not take away from his greatness.
Doesn't take away from his legacy at all. And I think that there will be a substantial portion of Kendrick Lamar's performance where he pays homage to New Orleans music.
I agree.
And I think that you may see Wayne and others make guest appearances during his set.
Exactly.
And I think we're going to all just love it.
That's right.
Well, Mr. Duplessis, Senator Duplessis, future Mayor Duplessis, I know you have to go. You have many events to attend. I really want to thank you for coming down to visit with me, talk about music, talk about your life and your journey, man. It's been an honor to have you.
The honor is mine. The honor is mine.
And I'm sorry I had to cut all your records out, but
because we would have been here till
we
midnight.
Been here a long
we would have been here till
man.
midnight.
We've been here a long time, but I really do thank you, brother.
Man,
and much respect to your musical knowledge, and shout out to your brothers, man. Who put you on.
They put me on, and I'm just so impressed. This catalog of crates you have is impressive. And
you got some crates, man. I know a little bit about it.
We're going to have to do this again in New Orleans. I don't know if anybody has gotten to part 2 yet, but I'm going to see about us getting to part 2.
At your mayoral inauguration, we're going to come down and we'll do another shorter interview at that time.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you. Much love.
Much love to you too.
Yes, sir. Thank you, brother.
All right.
Absolutely.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Lawyers Hip Hop Happy Hour. Make sure you listen to part 1 of the interview and catch up on all past episodes by subscribing to the podcast, which is available everywhere, including Apple, Spotify, and Amazon. New episodes are released on the 12th of each month. And if you'd like to see the video version of an interview, that can be found on my YouTube page at the Lawyers Hip Hop Happy Hour. Thank you for your support, and I'll catch you on the B-side.